All right, let's think, but think clearly. Hey there, Enterprisers, what's good? It's Jason Lago here again, and in this video, I'm talking to you about how to think more clearly. That's right, how to think more clearly. Business, life, this general thing that we're doing, right? It definitely requires thinking, right? And if you're not thinking into things that you're doing, then you're probably not doing much, certainly not doing anything positive or productive. And thought process is huge, right? It's all about how you are thinking, what you're thinking, and really high level thinking. If you think about most people who have success, it starts with what happens in their mind, right? Every single great best-selling product was an idea, right? Every single great novel or great movie started up here as a thought, right? As an idea. And so what I want to do today is really talk to you about something that maybe not a whole lot of people talk about, but it's very important, especially as an entrepreneur in your business. You have to be able to achieve clarity of thought. All right, how do you think clearly? And so now I need to give you a fair warning here. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an analyst by any means, but I know what has helped me. Stuff that I've learned from other people, stuff that I've kind of discovered in my own journey. And I'll tell you what, if you think about what it means to think clearly, this is where you definitely want to live. You want to think where you have clarity of thought. Live where you have clarity of thought. And this is going to be an absolute blossoming place for some of your greatest ideas and potential projects that could turn into millions of dollars, turned into wonderful impacted lives, turn into success, however you describe it. Let me go ahead and share with you 3 quick ways on how you can achieve clarity of thought. How to think clearly. Let's go. Number 1, eliminate distractions. Okay, eliminate distractions. I know that sounds basic, and at the first sound of it, you might even discount it, but I'm telling you what, do not do that. Eliminating distractions is so crucial when it comes to thought process and getting clear thinking going. Think about this. We live in a place that is full of distractions, and yet you don't even know what they are. You might see them as normal part of your everyday life, and yet they are distracting you. Here's what I mean. Let's say that you want to go ahead and come up with some content. You want to create some content for your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your stories, whatever the case is. And so what do? You sit down, maybe you got a pen and paper, maybe you have a blank sheet on your tablet or on your computer, and you're ready to start typing away, and you're wondering, okay, go ahead and let me go ahead and start thinking about something. And then what happens? You get an email, right? That dings, that goes off, that notification. And then you get another notification that dings and goes off because you're tagged in someone's social media post, or it's time for you to go ahead and check that. And or you get another ding or an alarm going off in the distance because now you need to go ahead and turn that food over in the oven. Do you understand what I'm saying here? As far as you're concerned, that's just part of regular everyday life, right? And yet they are still distracting you. And so in our example, even though you may have allotted yourself 1 hour to sit down and do some brainstorming for some quality, content creation, now all of a sudden it's been botched in half, or maybe even worse, it's got hole shot in it left and right because of these Instagram notifications and these Facebook notifications and these emails, all right, and these kids that are running in, all right? Now, I don't mean to be rude. Again, all of these things are important, especially your kids, but in this case, they are a distraction. What you have to do is find a way to do better at blocking yourself off from it, and more importantly, blocking those things off from you. And that will help you eliminate distractions. I can think to you of a friend of mine who's done very, very well for himself. At the peak of his business career, his business was doing over 9 figures, right? And I can tell you that one thing that he talked to me about, and even talked about in some of his more private mastermind trainings, is that he would routinely go to a hotel room and tell the front desk to shut off the Wi-Fi. He would go there, he'd have no phone with him, he would just have his computer. And the only person who knew where he was and how to get a hold of him was his assistant. And that's it. No friends, no family knew where he was. He would find a nice hotel somewhere, he would have them turn off the Wi-Fi, and he would go there and he would just work. He would crack open his laptop on the times that he was awake, and that was it. And he would go to work. And in that time, he created so much material, so much valuable material that went on to become the likes of video home study courses, online home study courses. He wrote a couple of books this way. He came up with new sales copy for all of his marketing materials, his websites and sales funnels. You get the idea. When you eliminate all distractions, it's amazing what can happen. So let me challenge you here and now, without any bias and removing all emotionality from it. Discover and determine what your distractions are and get rid of them. Eliminate distractions. Number 2, practice mindfulness. Okay, practice mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness, you might say? Mindfulness is an awareness, right? It's a conscious awareness you have about thought. And so what that does is really separates you. It creates separation from thought to thought. And what this allows you to do is to look at your thoughts objectively and start making decisions and developing those things from that point. You know what I'm saying? So as opposed to sitting there and thinking, okay, what comes to your mind? Let me go ahead and start developing it. Sometimes that has its place, but a lot of the times you need to be mindful, that is deliberate in your thought process. So let's say, for instance, you're in a brainstorming session and you've got 3 or 4 topics that come to mind, right? 5, 6, 7, 8 topics maybe that you want to go ahead and start developing for good content creation. So you write those things down. What I would recommend is do not immediately start diving into each one and building them out. Now, you might have the urge and the time to do that with 1 or 2, and I say that's fine, but don't make it a point to dive into everything right then and there. Instead, be mindful about it. Look at it, take a snapshot of it in your mind, and revisit it in a day or 2. That way you can create separation between your thoughts and really give due attention to each item. And in so doing, you can really develop them out into something special. Does that make sense? Be mindful in this approach. I'll tell you what, this is the best way to stay on track that I have found for me. Because if you're like me, then you probably have a little bit of what's called scatterbrain syndrome, right? Yeah, you're looking at things and you start developing it, and maybe that word turns into that word, and that word turns into that word, and all of a sudden they're all convoluted and you don't have structure and separation anymore, right? So being mindful and being deliberate in your mindfulness and in your thinking will help you overcome that. Give this a shot. I can promise you that once you put this out on paper and illustrate it, and you can see when you separate things, this really helps you to get things to take off. So practice mindfulness. Number 3, and finally, fuel your brain, okay? Fuel your brain. And this is something that may not be attached to what we're saying here in the traditional sense, but I have found it to be my case, and you might as well. There are countless different testimonies and studies out there of different types that clearly suggest and or otherwise illustrate that what you consume can affect how you think. And I think I'll just leave it at that, because I particularly, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health person, I'm not a psychologist, and I don't have a ton of information in front of me that I can show you, but if you look into it, you're gonna find it out. But like anything else, especially when it comes to dietary and eating and things like that, I am just going to tell you to listen to your body and your mind and really find what works for you. Obviously, we can agree to some level that junk food, highly processed sugar, things like that, probably not the best thing for your brain, because it's not the best thing for your body either, right? And you know, with that in mind, just go ahead and fuel your brain how you think might do well and really get you to a state of optimism, all right, or at least to where you're running on an optimal level. In my case, some of my best work is done first thing in the morning, or as close to it as possible. And one thing I notice why that is simply because I have a fresh brain and a fresh body, a fresh stomach in the morning, and I believe that all of those things are intertwined. Again, I'm not pressing you to do any kind of lifestyle or dietary measures that I'm doing, but one thing I found, especially since I practice what's called intermittent fasting, I traditionally don't have a breakfast. When I wake up first thing in the morning, you know, I drink a little bit of water to get going, and then I will have a cup of coffee. It's not the first thing I reach for. Sometimes I'll have it once I finally get to the office, or once I finally sit down to work. I might drink coffee while I'm doing that, and for me it's a nice warm welcoming treat. But the reality is I don't have breakfast in the morning. Not like in the past when I was growing up, you know, and early in my adult life. That's what I would do: bowl of cereal, donuts, muffins, sometimes bacon and eggs, things like that. All of those things can be good and pleasing, but I found that they actually just do nothing more than make me sluggish. Nowadays, maybe it could also be my age, but nowadays when I don't have breakfast, it seems like I'm doing better. Again, a little bit of water to wake up, a little bit of coffee to enjoy, helps me wake up with a little bit of caffeine and stimulate the brain perhaps. But honestly, if I didn't have the coffee, I'd still be okay. Not having breakfast in the morning, that works for me. And then of course, you know, you want to be healthy, however that is and however that looks to you. Whether you're doing the low carb thing or the plant-based thing and you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, whatever the case, just know that what you eat usually has a lot to do with what comes out of you in terms of your creativity, your actions, your thoughts. They're all related. So fuel your brain however you think is going to fuel you the best and get this machine going. Fuel your brain. All right, listen, quick and dirty as per usual, but I hope this was helpful, okay? Now you know what to do. Like, comment, and share, but subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any more hot new content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. As usual, if you haven't had a chance yet, click on the link below and follow me to the Greatest Home Study course on how to build a wildly profitable online business, even if you have not succeeded at all before, even if you tried it and failed miserably. I got your back on this one. This is Jason Ligo with Always Enterprise. I'll talk to you later. Take care.